Hi and welcome students. In today's lesson, we will be working in our Max book, page 20 and 21. I will be reading Old versus Young, the generation gap, and I will go over the vocabulary words. I will answer the questions. So let's begin. Please follow along. Here we have Old versus Young, the generation gap. The youth of today, out of control troublemakers or simply misunderstood. The older generation samples life from a teenage point of view and vice versa. Growing up is never easy, and the teenage years are always particularly fraught. Puberty, pimples, and parents are a source of constant embarrassment, whilst life for the enthusiastic gardening grandparents seems like a breeze. But step over the other side of the fence and you get a whole new perspective. The older generation know all too well about the trials of teenage life, having experienced the same embarrassments. But when they went through puberty, things were a little different. When a Big Mac meant an oversized raincoat. Whilst today's education system encourages individuality and expression of opinion, the education system of the 40s and 50s put a firm emphasis on discipline and uniformity. Teachers were highly respected and more often than not feared individuals. Answering back was unheard of, and all work was completed with the help of a fountain pen and paper. The internet, PlayStation, and mobile phones were far-fetched items to be found alongside flying cars, talking robots, and other such imaginings. With so many differences, can the two generations ever understand each other? Question. Undercover teens. A willing bunch of teenagers go undercover to give the older generation a taste of teenage life in 2003. It's scary being an old person. I hate it. It's totally dreadful. You can't do anything, said one of the teenagers. A secret camera captured the teenagers' forays to a news agent and, of course, the typical teenage hunt, a fast food restaurant. And whilst the older generation was watching teenage life on screen, 15-year-old Daz was being made up to look and feel like an old man. While makeup artist Kat Crawford took care of Diaz's appearance, Dr. Finbar Martin, a consultant geriatrician, fitted a neck-collared arm weight and blurred glasses to help Diaz experience reality of getting old. Security. The hidden camera caught the teenagers as they head to newsagents for sweets. The shop owner was wary of their antics, and the spraying of an aerosol can prove the final straw and the teenagers were asked to leave. The older generation were not impressed. These kids are dreadful. They're rude and are just seeing far they can go, agreed the older generation. They're showing off to each other, they're ignorant, and they're letting themselves down, frankly. So when the group journeyed to another newsagent for a second attempt, it comes as no surprise to the watching older generation that there is a sign insisting the teenagers go in 2 at a time. The teenagers find this ruling humiliating, and it's easy to see what. I think at the end of the day, you have to remember that they are just children, explains a youth worker. children growing into adolescence. But they are going to behave like children. Whilst the teenagers get into bother in the fast food restaurant toilets, Dad struggles to make his way along the streets as an elderly man. It proves quite an eye-opening experience. Face to face, the day in the life draws to a close, but have either generation learned anything about the other. The older generation are certainly not impressed with some of the teenagers' behavior, while the teenagers feel unfairly treated. But despite their differences, there is no animosity. It seems the generations may never fully understand each other, but maybe that's the way it should be. After all, things could turn nasty if Granddad was always hogging the PlayStation. Okay, so here we are talking about teenagers versus the older generation, and how life was back in the 1940s and the 1950s. Teenagers, teachers were highly respected, and they were never talked back to. Work was always completed. Life was more simpler. They really didn't have all the technology that we had today. While teenagers today, they have their point of view. They have their own opinions. They have their own perspectives. They see things differently than the older generation saw back in the 1940s and the 1950s. They are more aware of many things, like technology, like they said, PlayStation, the internet, Apple phones, and all of these, technologies were not available in the 1940s and 1950s. All they had was basically a pen and paper, if so at that time. And so this is what this article is basically talking about. And the older generation went undercover to see the life of a teenager, and they saw that teenagers were acting somewhat silly, and not thinking of their actions, and they're not being aware of their surroundings. So this is what the article basically talks about. Now we will answer the questions. Here we have number one, who was watching what the teenagers were doing? And as we know, as we just read, the older generation was watching the teenagers, Number two, how were they watching them? They were watching them by a secret camera, watching them on a screen. Number three, what does today's education encourage? So today's education system encourages individuality. What does individuality mean? Here, it means the quality or character of a particular person or thing that distinguishes them from others. Yani, in other words, it is every person has their own quality, has their own personality, has their own character, and this is what differentiates, makes you different than another person. So today, the system encourage every teenager, every person to have their own personality and expression of opinion, which means you are free to express your opinion. No one will tell you no, no one will tell you you're not allowed to. So this is what today's education system encourages. It encourages individuality and expression of opinion. Number four, why were the teenagers asked to leave when they visited the first news agents? They were asked to leave because the shop owner was wary of their antics and the spraying of an aerosol. So what does antics mean? Let's look here on the side. Antics. Okay, so it's not here. I thought it was here. Antics means their behavior or what they were doing. They were spraying aerosol, like something like, hairspray, but it's color. And the news agent owner was not happy with that. So he felt kind of weary. He felt kind of uncomfortable with them being there. Number 5, how did the teenagers feel at the end of their journey and why? So the teenagers felt unfairly treated because there was animosity. Animosity means a strong feeling of opposition, anger, or hatred. They felt, the shop owner was not liking them, that he was very angry with them. And between the two generations, they felt that they were treating them different because they were teenagers. Now, going down to discussion, this should be a discussion between me and the students. So this is your opinion. You're free of expression, your own opinion. So you can, in this section, you can write whatever you feel is right. So here we have one. Which is better? How teenagers were in the 1940s and 50s, or how they are now? So this is your personal opinion. I started it with, in the 1940s, 50s, the education system put a firm emphasis on discipline and uniformity, which means, back in the 1940s and the 50s, education had a very firm they had very firm rules, and they had very firm discipline, and everyone was treated the same. Basically, you were ordered what to do. Everyone was doing the same thing. Today, teenagers are different because they can express their today the system encourages individuality, and you can express your opinion. And today we have a lot of high-tech information on the internet. We use a lot of the internet. We use today teenagers have a lot more to work with, which is different from the older generation, from the 1940s and 1950s. They had PlayStation, now, teenagers have the internet, they have the PlayStation, they have the cell phones, and all of these technology were not available back in the 1940s and the 50s. And, people back in the 1940s and 50s were treated differently. They had more rules. The education system was very firm on them. Behavior was very firm. There was no talking back allowed. Teachers were very respected, and so on. So there are, differences between teenagers back in the 1940s, 50s, and today's teenagers. Number 2, does being a teenager have to involve embarrassment? Does it, being a teenager لازم يكون في خجل? What, in your opinion, what do you think? This is your personal opinion. 3, not really. You can, even if you were put in an embarrassing situation, I believe today's teenagers find a way to make it funny, or to joke about it, or to take it with a cool heart. So not necessary. They may get embarrassed in the beginning of their teenage years, but they get used to it, and when they find their self, when they find their personality and how to deal with others, it becomes somewhat easier. So this is your personal, opinion, your personal answer. Number 3, would you rather be 13 or 30, and why? This again is your personal opinion. 4, are teenagers adults or children? How should they behave? Teenagers are, they are young, they are young adults, and they are, okay, so how could we put this? Teenagers are growing into adolescence, but they kind of behave like younger children. So, are teenagers adults or children? They are, in my opinion, they're both. They're young children, older children growing into adults. And how should they behave? I believe they should have a principle. They should have individuality. They have the right to express their opinion. They shouldn't feel embarrassed. They should have, they should have confidence. They should work hard. So there are many things, but this is your personal opinion. So whatever you put, it won't be wrong. So now let's move to the vocabulary words to the right. The first one we have fraught. Fraught is an adjective, and it means causing or feeling worry or anxiety. Yani feeling scared. Second word, answer back. Answer back is a verb, and it means to defend yourself against criticism, which means, for instance, someone is giving you a bad comment, and you answer them back, and this is defending yourself. You are defending yourself from the person who is criticizing you. Third word is far-fetched. Far-fetched is an adjective, and it means very difficult to believe. Okay? Undercover means secretly. Undercover cop means a secret cop. Undercover camera means secretly, no one knowing. Foray, it's a noun, and it means a short journey to find a particular thing or to visit a new place, usually undertaken by the army. Hunt, a place that someone visits often or where she spends a lot of time. Geriatrician means, it's a noun, and it means a doctor who studies and treats the diseases of old people. Okay, so this is a doctor who treats old people. Youth worker is a noun, and is someone whose job is to help young people with their personal, educational, and social development. Usually in schools, they have a youth worker, and he or she helps them, if they have any personal problems, if they don't know what classes to take, if they have any problems with their classmates, with their school. So this is a youth worker. She works with young teenagers. Frankly. Frankly is an adjective, and it is used to show that you are being honest or about something, even though people might not like what you are saying. I consider myself to always be frankly. I always say, I'm always honest about how I feel. And yes, many times people don't like that. They don't want to hear the honest truth. Which, I don't mean any harm, but this is just the way I am. Animosity is a noun, and it means a strong feeling of opposition, and or anger or hatred. So when someone is very angry or is hating you a lot, so they are having a lot of animosity toward you. And our next word is hog. Hog is a verb, and it is to use or keep most of something to yourself and stop others from using it. So when you are hogging something, you are not sharing with others. You want it all to yourself. You don't want to share with others. And our next word is perspective. Perspective means a particular attitude toward or way of regarding something as a point of view. So perspective is basically your point of view. So you can put it in my perspective of being a teenager is so. This is how you would put it in a sentence. Individuality. Yani in Arabic means fardi, and it is the quality or character of a particular person or thing that distinguishes them from others. Okay, so individuality, it is, like I said, your principle, your personality, the way you look, the way you act, it's all your genes. This is all qualities of your characteristics that is different from everyone else. So every one of us is, has your own individuality. No two are alike. You may have similarities with your friends, but never completely alike in all aspects. Never. And our next word is uniformity. Uniformity means the equality or state of being uniform, which is same. So uniformity means same. And our last word is embarrassment. Embarrassment, yani إحراج, and it's a feeling of self-consciousness, shame, or awkwardness. So here we have embarrassment when you don't really have a lot of self-conscious. You're always feeling shame. You're feeling that you're less than other people. You're feeling that you're not pretty as other people. You feel, many awkward things. So this is what embarrassment is. Okay, so that is it for today's lesson, and this is all about old versus young. And go through the answers, make sure they're correct. Study these vocabulary words very well. And I have one more thing. Here I have it's just a little positive note for you guys to remember always. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking, because her trust is not on the branch, but on its own wings. Always believe in yourself, and you will do great and succeed and accomplish many things. Okay? So العصفور اللي قاعد على الشجرة ما عمره بيخاف من العنص the branch breaking. ما عمره بيخاف إنه تنكسر البرانش because لأنه هي العصفور عارف إنه رح يعتمد على الأجنحة، ورح يعتمد إنه بيقدر يطير وما يوقع على الأرض. So this is exactly what I want. This is the positive inspiration that I want you all to have. Always believe in yourself. You could do it, that you are great, that you are beautiful, that you can accomplish many things, and that you can become the best of the best if you put your mind to it. Have a great day, and until our next lesson. Ciao.